I recently returned from a 2-week filming project in California at Michael Ellis' school for dog training. Michael and I are working on a number of protection dog projects. The filming was done during one of Michael's 2-week protection and helper training courses. The new DVDs will be announced in this bi-weekly newsletter when they're ready, and I never know when they're ready until they're done, so I really can't answer questions that are sent to me on email wanting to know when they're ready because I just don't know. One of the interesting parts of the beginning of Protection Dog course was an explanation of the various European dog sports, the KNPV, the French Ring, the Belgian Ring, Schutzen and IPO, and how these sports are viewed and judged in protection work, and how the sports often end up producing different types of dogs based on the requirement of the sport. So, over my next newsletters, and I'm really not sure how many it will take, I will stream these explanations by Michael of the various dog sports. So people, dog trainers, will learn from them. We are at a period in time when training, operant conditioning training, that's being used in the biting dog sports has something to offer many other disciplines that people choose to train their dogs in. Obedience training, agility training, to mention just a couple. Many of the training concepts can apply to these other disciplines. So we will begin today by listening to Michael explain the KNPV and the type of dogs that the KNPV produces.
The United States called PSA, Protection Sports Association. There was NAPD, National Association of Protection Dogs. There have been Canine Pro Rodeo, Pro Sports. I know the Mexicans have this personal protection type sport. There's a lot of these different little things cropping up, but none of them have any kind of history and standardization now, so I'm not really going to talk about them. I'm going to talk about the generally accepted European heritage protection dog sports, because this is what's driven protection work in the last 100 years. So the evolution and the foundation of all this stuff has come from these various countries. So, and I'm going to talk about 4 primarily. I'm going to talk about the Dutch in Holland, the Germans, the French, and the Belgians, mostly, because those are the popular sports. Okay? So we'll start with the Dutch. The Dutch have a program called the KNPV. It means something in Dutch, but I can't pronounce it. Something Royal Federation of Police Dogs or whatever. But the KNPV. The KNPV is, it's a sport, it's a certification, and it's designed as sort of a pre-selection for police dogs. So the vast majority of dogs that grow up in the KNPV go on to become police dogs, or security dogs or something in that vein. And Holland is unique in that people do this as a hobby. They raise a dog in the KNPV system. They take the dog out for their certificate, for their test. When the dog passes the certificate, they sell the dog and they start another one, right? As just kind of like a hobby. They'll continually raise a dog up to 3 or 4 years old. It does its certificate. They sell that one and they get another one and they do it over again. And so that's sort of unique, especially if you're coming from the States and things like that, where people, and even some of the other countries, where people would raise a dog and the dog was sort of a part of their family, and you would maybe, if you were doing sports, you would go on and compete with that dog until it retired. There are a very small percentage of the Dutch dogs go on to become what they call competition dogs. So they have the KNPV PH1 certificate, which is the main certificate in Holland. And then they have a PH2 certificate, which is an upper-level kind of competition certificate, but some ridiculously small number of the dogs actually go on to do that, 5% or something like that, of the dogs actually go on and continue to be competition dogs and stay with their original handlers. Most of them go on to military things. So the emphasis on it, although it is a sport, it's patterned. They do the same exercises in the same order on certification day, and they all train very much like that. So it is a sport in that sense. Is based on a very practical evaluation. So the judges look at the dogs, they break all the exercises down into little categories, and they're really looking for a dog that would make a good police dog. So they're evaluated on a lot of not so much on the precision of their work, Does the dog sit perfectly straight? Does he retrieve really fast? Does he do things? But does the dog have all the things that make a good police dog? Are they committed and confident? Do they hit hard? Do they bite hard? Are they intense about it? Do they handle threat well? Will they search well? There's a lot of exercises about searching for small articles. There's a small article search. There's a search in the woods for a box. So it's another inanimate object they teach the dogs to go find in the woods, and to search for a helper in the woods, a guy in a bite suit hidden in the woods. There's some retrieving exercises and some basic obedience things, a little bit of jumping, some heeling, some basic stuff like that, right? And what we're looking at primarily in the dogs is, do these dogs have the things that make a good police dog, which are confidence, ability to work independently from the handler. So they have very long attacks in the KNPV. So they send the dogs 110 meters or something like that on a bite, which is very far away from the handler. And part of the reason for that, it makes, like, people love to watch the KNPV because they're these kind of spectacular entries between the dog and the decoy crashing into each other from really far away. So it's kind of impressive to watch. But there was a practical reason for the Dutch to do this, which was that the dogs had to go far away from the handler to engage somebody acting aggressively.
The remainder of this talk on the KNPV will be in Thursday's newsletter. And then next week, we will stream additional explanations of the other biting dog sports in Europe. If you'd like to watch some of the free streaming videos that I have on my website, you can go to this web address now. I have a number of free streaming training videos, and then a number of product videos also.